Lilith. Lilith is the second angel, and like Adam, is a seed of life created by the first ancestral race billions of years ago. She was never meant to land on Earth, but that changed when her transport vessel, called the Black Moon, crashed into the planet by accident in an event called First Impact. Her spear of Longinus, which was supposed to neutralize one seed if two ended up on the same planet, was destroyed in the impact. Since Adam's spear was still intact, it activated to fix the situation and forced Adam into dormancy. That left Lilith free to start spreading life on Earth. Lilith released the primordial soup that gave rise to all terrestrial life. Everything from bacteria to humans came from her. So while Adam was meant to fill the planet with angels, Lilith's offspring, humanity, ended up taking over instead. For ages, Lilith stayed buried deep underground inside the Black Moon, which tectonic activity eventually pushed beneath what would later be called Hakone, Japan. That underground space became known as the Geofront. At some point before or around the time of Second Impact, Seele discovered Lilith and the Black Moon. They built Gihern, later renamed Nerve, right on top of it, along with Tokyo 3. Seele and Nerve ran a number of experiments on Lilith, letting her grow just enough to be ready for instrumentality, then impaling her with the recovered Spear of Longinus to keep her in check until the right moment. The spear had originally belonged to Adam, but ended up being used on Lilith instead. Lilith was kept crucified on a massive red cross in the deepest level of Nerve HQ, called Terminal Dogma. That's where Nerve tapped into her blood, which is the real source of the orange LCL fluid used in Evangelion entry plugs. The so-called LCL production plant is actually just a giant pool of Lilith's blood collected underneath her crucifix. There are also tubes connected to the back of her head labeled LCL Tube A and so on, which were probably used to extract it as well. Later, when Ava Unit 00 removes the spear from Lilith's chest, her lower legs grow back, but with something extra. Dozens of smaller humanoid legs sticking out from her thighs. The Evangelion units were based on Adam's body, except for Ava Unit 01. It was the only one made from Lilith. Instead of using just genetic samples, it is implied that Unit 01 was formed by tearing the lower half of Lilith's body away. That's why Lilith is missing her legs, and why Unit 01 is referred to as a test type. The creation process left behind strings of shredded flesh between them, showing just how directly Unit 01 came from her. In The End of Evangelion, Gendo tries to merge the Adam embryo in his hand with Rei to take control of Lilith and reunite with Yui, but Rei refuses. With both Adam's body and soul now inside her, she enters Lilith's body in Terminal Dogma. The strange clusters of humanoid legs on Lilith disappear as Rei fuses with her, creating a new being made from all three, Rei, Adam, and Lilith. This fused form triggers Third Impact and kicks off instrumentality, but in the end, Shinji rejects it all. Ava Unit 1 bursts out from the eye of the combined being, breaks the Spear of Longinus in half, and the entire fusion collapses. The Rei Adam Lilith entity falls back to Earth in pieces, and that's presumably the end of it. Sachiel. Sachiel is the third angel, the first of Adam's natural offspring, and the first one to show up in the anime series. It is also the first angel to attack Earth after the Second Impact. It makes its entrance by casually swimming through the flooded ruins in a city near Tokyo 3, before climbing out of the water and heading straight for land. The Japanese self-defense forces are the first to confront it, but their weapons don't even scratch it. Sachiel doesn't seem aggressive at first, more like it's just walking through, but that doesn't mean it's harmless. When the VTOL aircraft launches a surprise missile barrage, Sachiel gets briefly stunned, but it quickly adapts. The attacks stop having any effect, and it just keeps marching towards Tokyo 3 like nothing happened. Instead of lashing out, it shoots one of the aircraft out of the sky, like it's flicking away a nuisance, then leaps away using its AT field. The military team then tries a bigger move. They lure Sachiel to Mount Takanasu and set off an N-tube mine right underneath it. The explosion is huge and actually manages to do some damage. Around 18% of its mass is blown off, but it doesn't take long for Sachiel to start healing. It regrows its lost tissue, even forming a new mask-like face underneath the old one, which gets pushed up and out of the way. The N2 mine doesn't stop it, but it slows it down just enough for Nerve to get Evangelion Unit 01 ready for combat. Once Sachiel enters Tokyo 3, it shifts into full attack mode. It unleashes a crucifix-shaped beam of energy that pierces through the city and into the geofront below. As it wanders through Tokyo 3, it encounters Unit 01, which has just been activated with Shinji inside. But Shinji is inexperienced, and the Eva collapses after only a few steps. Sachiel goes on the offensive, breaking the Evangelion's arm and slamming its head into the ground. It takes a few tries, but eventually it stabs Unit 01 in the head with a lance-like weapon hidden in its forearm, launching it across the battlefield. Then, something shifts. Unit 01 reboots and goes berserk. It charges at Sachiel, rips part of its facial armor off, and exposes a raw, more organic layer underneath. Sachiel tries to hold it back with its AT field, but Unit 01 regenerates its broken arm and pushes through the barrier using its own AT field. Sachiel fights back with a cross-shaped energy blast at close range, but it isn't enough. The Eva grabs both of Sachiel's arms and snaps them, then kicks the angel into a building. From there, it mounts the angel and starts pummeling its core. It even rips out one of Sachiel's ribs and uses it as a weapon, stabbing at the core until cracks begin to form. At this point, Sachiel realizes it's not going to win. In a last-ditch move, it wraps itself around Unit 01's head and self-destructs, releasing a massive cross-shaped pillar of light into the sky. But even that's not enough to destroy the Eva. Unit 01 emerges from the aftermath with only moderate damage and still functional. Sachiel is gone, but the fight showed that the angels weren't holding back, and neither were the Evas.
GamerSups is an energy and nootropic formula designed to be a healthier, cheaper, and more effective beverage over energy drinks for gamers or the modern anime weeb on the go. Its blend of essential vitamins, caffeine, and nootropics provide a consistent boost with no jitters and no crash. It has 0 sugar, less than 1 carb, and less than 1 calorie per serving, so it's keto and diabetic safe. Plus, there's sugar-free options. I personally drink it all the time to be able to grind out these straight-to-the-point and informative videos for you guys, and they'll likely be the only sponsor you'll ever see on this channel. So help the channel stay mostly sponsor-free by clicking the link in our description, picking from the many tasty and uniquely named flavors on the website, and use our code ANIMEX at checkout to save 10% on your order. It would be a huge help for us. Also, pick yourself up a aesthetically interesting waifu cup while you're at it too. They're collectible. But anyway.
Shamshel. Shamshel is the 4th angel and the second one to attack Tokyo 3, showing up just 3 weeks after Sachiel's appearance kicked everything off. It first shows up over the ocean, makes landfall near Odawara, and moves straight towards Tokyo 3, effortlessly pushing through every defense line in its way. This angel stands out with its cephalopod-like design and about the same size of an Evangelion. It shifts between 2 modes, a horizontal flight form for moving around and a vertical combat mode for fighting. When it switches to combat, its large front arms not only change positions but also shift shape. These arms are where its 2 long energy tentacles extend from, which it uses as weapons. The core sits just under its head, centered on its torso. Compared to Sachiel, Shamshel comes off a lot more aggressive. When it reaches Tokyo 3, Shinji is sent out in Unit 01 and tries to shoot it down with a pallet rifle. The shots don't do anything though. The AT field holds strong, and the gunfire just fills the area with smoke. Right after, Shamshel lashes out from the cloud of smoke with its energy whips. It destroys the rifle instantly, and sends Unit 01 into a panic. The angel keeps pressing forward, tearing through buildings as it chases the Eva down. During the chaos, one of the buildings, possibly the one powering Unit 01, gets destroyed, cutting off its umbilical cable. Shamshel then wraps one of its energy whips around the Eva's legs and throws it across the battlefield, slamming it into the side of a mountain. Despite taking heavy damage, Unit 01 manages to grab Shamshel's energy tentacles with its bare hands. This causes serious burns, but the Eva still manages to toss the angel away. Even with the power running out and against direct orders, Shinji makes the call to keep fighting. He charges Unit 01 downhill, closing the distance before stabbing Shamshel's core with the progressive knife. At the same time, Shamshel impales Unit 01 using its whips. The clash ends with Shamshel's core cracking just as the Eva runs out of power, killing the angel. Unlike most other angels, Shamshel's body doesn't explode after death. It stays behind, almost completely intact, which gives Nerve a rare chance to study an angel up close. Days later, researchers begin dissecting the body, and even Shinji visits the site. Though the body is said to be rotting and eventually marked for disposal, Its damaged core and internal S2 engine become crucial in later developments. The data collected from Shamshel leads to the creation of artificial S2 organs, which are later installed in the mass production Evangelion units. However, one of the early attempts to use this tech on Evangelion Unit 04 ends in disaster. The entire unit, along with the surrounding facilities and personnel, disappears without a trace after the engine is activated. Shamshel's defeat was just the beginning of what would become one of the most dangerous advancements in the Evangelion project. Ramiel. Ramiel is the fifth angel, and easily one of the biggest threats NERV had to deal with. It's the first angel that actually manages to physically breach the Geofront's defenses. Unlike the earlier angels, Ramiel doesn't look or act organic at all. It's shaped like a massive floating blue octahedron, basically two pyramids stuck together base to base, made of smooth reflective crystal. A single F note constantly hums in the air as it moves, adding to its eerie presence. Ramiel doesn't rely on brute force. It brings precision and overwhelming firepower, with a particle beam that can burn through an Evangelion's armor almost instantly. That beam doesn't just fire in short bursts either. It can be sustained for a long time, maybe indefinitely, thanks to what's called an inner torus reactor, a type of nuclear fusion core inside its body. It's fired with pinpoint accuracy and reacts to threats coming from any direction, even underground. Its AT field is also another major problem. It's so strong that it literally bends light and can be seen with the naked eye. Breaking through it will require 180 million kilowatts of energy, which is far beyond what any standard attack could provide. Because of this, a direct confrontation with an Evangelion was completely off the table at first. Ramiel makes this approach by flying in over the ocean and heading straight for Tokyo 3. With no intel on the Angel, NERV sends out Unit 01 to intercept, but before the Eva can even fully surface, Ramiel detects it and fires. The beam goes straight through a building and nearly melts through Unit 10's chest, almost killing Shinji in the process. Right after that, Ramiel deploys a massive drill from its underside and starts boring down through the city's armor, trying to reach NERV HQ. To learn more about its behavior, NERV runs a few tests. They send out a dummy Eva and fire a Type 12 motor at it. Ramiel reacts the same way every time. Anything that gets too close gets hit instantly with perfect aim. No room for error. Masato ends up leading a high-stakes plan to take it down. Since no Evangelion can get close without being obliterated, the strategy involves powering an experimental positron rifle with the entire electrical grid of Japan. Unit 01 would take the shot, while Unit 00 provides defense using a heat shield repurposed from a spacecraft. When the time comes, Unit 01 fires the first shot at the exact same time Ramiel fires back. Both beams clash in midair, distorting from the energy and missing their targets. Ramiel quickly follows up with a second blast, and this time Unit 00 blocks it, but the shield takes serious damage and starts failing fast. Thankfully, Unit 01's second shot hits its mark. It punches right through Ramiel's core, destroying the Angel. The drill instantly shuts down, ironically just as it was about to reach the Geofront. Ramiel's body crashes down to the ground, staying mostly intact. For weeks afterwards, it remains stay visible. At first, the full structure is just lying there. Then, NERV begins dismantling it slowly with cranes. The last time it's seen, most of its upper half is already gone. It's unclear whether they managed to study it or if something else happened to the body. Either way, Ramiel left a permanent mark as one of the most dangerous encounters in the early days of the Angel invasions. Gagiel. Gagiel is the sixth Angel, and it's all about aquatic dominance. This thing is massive, comparable in length to a Iowa-class battleship, which makes it way bigger than any Evangelion. It has a shark-like body with a huge jaw full of serrated teeth, and its core is located right inside that mouth. Unlike the earlier Angels that showed up near Tokyo 3, Gagiel targets the UN Pacific Fleet while they're transporting Unit 02. The operation also secretly involves moving the preserved embryonic form of Adam, though that part isn't public knowledge. Even Seele seems to be in the dark about that. Officially, NERV claims Gagiel was attracted to Unit 02's presence, but whatever Gagliel's exact motivation is, the Angel doesn't hold back. It attacks the fleet head-on and ends up damaging or sinking nearly a third of it. This forces a battle with Unit 02, piloted by Asuka Langley Soryu, with Shinji Ikari riding along for backup. It's their first real fight together. Asuka takes the initiative, launching Unit 02 and B-type equipment, which isn't designed for underwater combat, then leaps straight into the action from the deck of one of the ships. Gagiel jumps out of the water and crashes into Unit 02 mid-air, dragging the Ava and itself onto the deck. Asuka tries to fight it head-on, but a misstep lands Unit 02 on a flight deck elevator, which collapses under the weight. That drops both the Ava and the Angel into the ocean, and things go south from there. Gagiel bites down on Unit 02 and holds it in place. Since they're underwater and not in proper gear, Asuka and Shinji are basically stuck. While the Ava is trapped, Masato comes up with a plan. The only way to win is to attack Gagiel from the inside. With both pilots finally syncing up, Unit 02 pries the Angel's mouth open just enough for the two scuffed battleships to wedge themselves in. These ships, remotely controlled, aim directly at Gagliel's core and fire. The shots connect, and the resulting impact causes the Angel's body to swell up and explode. Most of its teeth are taken out in the process, and the explosion seems to come from the core being hit, not from the battleships themselves. The ships remain stuck in the mouth while the actual blast takes place deeper inside. Gagiel is destroyed then and there, making it one of the few Angels that had to be taken down entirely at sea. Despite the chaotic and risky nature of the battle, the mission ends with Unit 02's first kill, and the Atom embryos stay secure, at least for the moment. Israfel. Israfel is the 7th Angel, and the first one that forces Nerve to deal with synchronized combat tactics. It's known for having 2 cores, both sitting on its chest, flanked by 4 bone-like rib structures. The strange part is that when you try to destroy it, it splits. If Israfel takes critical damage, it just divides into 2 separate versions of itself, called Alpha and Beta. Alpha and Beta look nearly the same as the original, except they have different color schemes and lack the rib structures. They each have their own core and mask with 3 eye holes, and they coordinate their attacks perfectly. The catch is that both cores have to be taken out at the exact same time. If one is destroyed and the other isn't, they regenerate. Israfel comes out of the ocean and gets intercepted by Asuka and Shinji. Asuka, ignoring the order to fight in sync with Shinji, goes in solo and slices the Angel clean in 2. That ends up being a huge mistake. Instead of dying, Israfel turns into Alpha and Beta, who then completely overpower both Avas. The mission fails, and Nerve loses control of the operation. After that, the UN Secondary Command steps in and drops an N2 depth charge on the Angel. It vaporizes around 28% of its mass, and manages to knock it out temporarily. For about 6 days, Israfel stays down, slowly regenerating from the damage. While the Angel is recovering, Nerve puts Shinji and Asuka through intense sync training. The plan is to coordinate their movements down to the second, using a pre-programmed musical score and dance routine. Once the timer is up, they deploy it again. This time, they force Israfel to split like before, then push it back into its original form. With the 2 cores now fully exposed, both pilots strike in perfect sync, destroying the cores at the same time, and finally defeating the Angel for good. Sandalphon. Sandalphon is the 8th Angel, and it's the first found in a pretty unusual spot, deep inside an active volcano, still in its embryonic stage. At this point, it's barely formed, floating in a dark cocoon-like shell, and shaped kind of like a human embryo. It hasn't developed a visible core, and there's no confirmed AT field. It's fragile looking, almost aquatic, and definitely not battle ready. Things start to shift when Sandalphon begins to hatch. It lets out a warped cry that sounds like a baby, then its body starts to rearrange. The transformation is hidden behind the same visual distortion the show uses to hint at AT field activity. Once the process finishes, its adult form is revealed, a flat-finned fish-like creature. It's got 2 decoy eyes like a flatfish, but the real ones are on its stalks, and its mouth is tucked underneath its head, kind of like certain prehistoric sea predators. Despite looking soft-bodied, Sandalphon can handle the extreme heat and pressure at the bottom of a volcano without any trouble, even with its mouth wide open. The heat resistance becomes a problem when Nerve decides to retrieve it. Asuka gets a special high-temp plug suit, and Unit 02 is modified with thermal gear to survive the dive. Her mission is to capture Sandalphon before it can hatch, but the Angel wakes up right as they try to reel it in. It fully transforms, becomes aggressive, and the fight kicks off underwater inside a volcano, or I guess you can say under lava. With limited mobility and the heat working against her, Asuka is forced into a close quarters brawl. The standard weapons don't do much against Sandalphon's now hardened body. At the critical moment, Shinji drops Unit 01's progressive knife down to her. Asuka uses it to stab the Angel after it's been blasted with coolant, which softens up its toughened body just enough for the blade to get through. The strike finishes Sandalphon off before it can cause any major damage. It's never made clear if Sandalphon was actively hostile or just reacting on instinct. Its baby-like sounds and the fact that it only became violent during the hatching stage leave that open to interpretation. It also destroyed Unit 02's umbilical cable during the fight, but it's unclear whether that was a conscious attack or if it was just a reflex. Matarael. Matarael is the ninth angel, and it hits Tokyo 3 at the worst possible moment, right in the middle of a full-scale power blackout. It's a massive creature that looks like a giant Apilione-style spider with 4 towering legs that stretch higher than most skyscrapers. Its body, by contrast, is relatively small and centered, covered in what looks like a mess of eyes. Most of those aren't real, just a camouflage trick meant to throw off enemies. The only real eye is positioned on the underside of its body, and that one matters. It can see, and more importantly, it can attack. Matarael's main weapon is a corrosive orange acid that it secretes from this central eye. The stuff eats through metal like it's nothing. Its core isn't visible, probably hidden deep inside the body, which adds to the difficulty of taking it down. The angel makes landfall by emerging from the Pacific Ocean and sneaking into the Tokyo 3 area through the Atami region. With all of the nerve systems knocked out by an unknown saboteur, there's no way to detect or stop the angel before it reaches the city. By the time anyone realizes what's happening, Matarael is already standing over the geofront, leaking acid from its eye and melting through the armored layers protecting the command center. Since there's no working power grid, the Evangelions have to be launched manually. They're fitted with backup battery units and sent out the old school way, climbing up through the access tunnels. They finally make it to a vertical shaft directly underneath the angel, but acid starts pouring down. The Avas are hit and forced to drop their weapons as they fall down the shaft. Asuka takes over and quickly organizes a plan. Unit 02 holds position and focuses on neutralizing Matarael's AT field, shielding the other Avas from the acid. Meanwhile, Unit 00 drops to the bottom of the shaft to recover the discarded pallet rifle and hands it off to Unit 01. Once everyone is in place, Unit 02 gets clear and Unit 01 open fires straight up the shaft. The attack lands clean. A long burst of rifle fire tears into Matarael from below, ending the battle. The angel is killed before it can fully breach the geofront. Sahaquiel. Sahaquiel is the 10th angel, and it doesn't come crawling out of the sea like the others. This one shows up in low Earth orbit. Its body is long and flat, with 3 big eye-like markings and 6 limb-like extensions sticking out from both ends, which gives it a weird symmetrical look. The central eye isn't just for show. Its core sits right in the middle, acting as the pupil. This angel doesn't bother with conventional attacks. It turns itself into a weapon by dropping parts of its body straight onto the planet. Each impact packs massive kinetic force, and its AT field boosts the destructive power even more. It doesn't drop all at once though. At first, it releases smaller chunks, using them to calibrate its aim. The hits gradually get closer to Tokyo 3, and it's clear the angel is zeroing in on its target. The final drop was going to be its full body, and if it had landed, the explosion would have completely erased Tokyo 3 and dumped the Pacific Ocean into its crater. Its AT field is one of the strongest seen so far. It shrugs off multiple N2 bomb strikes without taking damage, and it also destroys scanning satellites by blasting them with that same barrier. On top of that, it jams communications, cutting off nerve from Gendo and Fuyusuki in Antarctica. So not only is it physically powerful, it also disrupts Nerve's ability to react in time. When the Angel's plan became clear, Nerve launched all 3 Avas to stop it. It was a risky operation since there wasn't much time between the Angel entering the atmosphere and hitting the ground. As it fell towards Tokyo 3, Unit 01 jumped up to catch it, stopping the full weight of the Angel mid-air. Unit 00 followed by working to neutralize the AT field, which stripped away the Angel's main defenses and blocked its shockwave. With everything exposed, Unit 02 finished the job by stabbing the core with a progressive knife. Sahaquiel was completely destroyed before it could hit the surface. Ireul. Ireul is the 11th angel, and it's nothing like the massive monsters that came before it. This one is microscopic, operating at a nanoscale, more like a virus than a creature. It doesn't walk, fly, or stomp around. Instead, it spreads by multiplying rapidly at the cellular level, invading systems and environments silently. It's unclear whether it even has a core, but given how small it is, that kind of detail doesn't really matter. It shows up inside the Pribnow box, a deep facility within the geofront. At first, it just looks like some odd corrosion on the walls, so no one realizes it's an angel. That changes quickly when it spreads towards the test chambers where the Eva pilots are and suddenly blocks laser attacks with an AT field. That's when Nerve figures out what they're actually dealing with. The team tries to fight it off with ozone, which works for a moment. The angel stops spreading, and the second it looked like it worked, then Ireul adapts, absorbs the ozone, and uses it to strengthen itself. It mutates into something resembling circuitry and connects itself directly into the Pribnow systems. Now inside the network, Ireul hacks into the Magi supercomputer and starts moving fast. It scans and reads important data and eventually begins trying to trigger Nerve's self-destruct protocol. At the same time, it protects the physical connection lines with an AT field so no one can cut off its access. Ritsuko ends up taking control of the situation. With 2 of the 3 Magi units already compromised, she uses the final untouched one to counterhack the angel. Instead of trying to destroy it directly, she programs it to evolve in a direction that leads to its own death. The strategy works. The angel mutates itself into extinction, shutting down completely before it can finish the self-destruction sequence. Leliel. Leliel is the 12th angel, and it's one of the strangest ones to show up. It doesn't behave or exist like a normal physical being. It's tied to a pocket dimension, only understood through abstract physics. When it first appears over Tokyo 3, it looks like a giant floating black and white sphere, but that sphere isn't actually Leliel's body. It's just a visual byproduct. The real body is the dark shadow on the ground below, which stretches 680 meters wide, but is only 3 nanometers thick. That's the part that actually interacts with the world. Leliel's AT field works in reverse, meaning it can pull physical matter into itself instead of keeping it out. Inside his body is the Diraxy, a kind of pocket universe where normal rules don't apply. Once something gets absorbed, it's trapped. All 3 Evangelions were deployed when Leliel showed up. Shinji took the lead and fired at the floating sphere, assuming it was the angel's weak point. Instead, he got dragged into the real body on the ground and completely disappeared. Contact was lost with Unit 01 immediately. Asuka barely avoided being pulled in by climbing onto a building. Rei tried to help by using Unit 00's sniper rifle, but the shots didn't do anything except wreck nearby structures. With Shinji trapped and no way to reach him, Nerve regrouped. Ritsuko explained the angel's actual name and came up with a plan. Unit 00 and Unit 02 would work together to cancel out Leliel's AT field, and then the Japan Strategic Self-Defense Forces would drop nearly 1,000 N2 bombs directly into the angel's body. The goal was to kill Leliel and maybe recover Unit 01 in the process, even if it meant sacrificing Shinji. Masato opposed the plan, but it was approved anyway. 16 hours passed with no sign of Unit 01. Just as life support was about to run out and the bombing was about to start, something unexpected happened. Unit 01 entered Berserker mode. Despite having no power left, it forced its way out of Leliel's Diraxy, tearing through the angel's core from the inside. The real body on the ground was destroyed in the process, breaking apart and unleashing a violent spray of blood across the city. Bardiel. Bardiel is the 13th angel, and it doesn't show up in a new body like the others. Instead, it infects Evangelion Unit 03 and takes it over completely. Before it was discovered, Bardiel was hiding inside a thundercloud during the transport of Unit 03, and its original form isn't seen. But based on what's left behind, it seems to be a kind of fungus-like growth. Once it got inside the Eva systems, it stayed hidden until Unit 03 was activated during a test at the Matsushiro facility. That's when things went bad fast. The angel revealed itself, triggering an explosion that partially destroyed the test site, and then began heading towards Tokyo 3 in the hijacked Evangelion body. With Unit 03 now fully under Bardiel's control, Nerve responded by deploying Unit 00, 01, and 02. Asuka, piloting Unit 02, was the first to engage, but she was caught off guard and taken out quickly. Rei, in Unit 00, managed to get a clear shot from behind, but she froze. Toji was the test pilot inside the entry plug of Unit 03, and Rei hesitated to fire because killing Bardiel would also kill him. That moment of hesitation gave the angel time to react. Bardiel made Unit 03 backflip and slammed Unit 00 into the ground. The infection began spreading again, this time oozing from Unit 03's arm and trying to take over Unit 00. Nerve stepped in and stopped the spread by detonating explosive charges inside Unit 00's arm, blowing it off completely. Rei, still synced with the Eva, felt the pain and collapsed. Bardiel left Unit 00 behind and kept moving forward. Then Bardiel ran into Unit 01. Shinji knew Toji was inside and refused to fight, and Bardiel took the opportunity to attack, overpowering Unit 01 and pinning it against a nearby mountain. As it strangled the Eva, Shinji still refused to fight back, even though he was about to be killed. Gendo, seeing that the pilot wouldn't act, overrode the controls and switched Unit 1 over to the dummy system. Once the dummy system took over, Unit 01 went into full kill mode. It broke Bardiel's neck quickly and left it unable to continue fighting. From there, Unit 01 didn't stop. It threw Bardiel to the ground, smashed in its skull, and tore apart his body. The entry plug was crushed in the process, completely destroying the angel. The aftermath hit hard. Shinji was devastated, not just by the brutal way the angel was killed, but because of who was inside. In the original anime, Toji barely survives. In the manga, he dies. Either way, the experience marks a turning point for Shinji and drives a deep wedge between him and Nerve. Zeruel. Zeruel is the 14th angel, and it doesn't waste time sneaking around. It's one of the few that actually makes it into Nerve headquarters, and is the only one that does so through a direct brute force assault. What sets it apart even more is that it's the angel that ends up supplying the Evangelion Unit 01 with an S2 engine, giving the Eva a massive power boost that changes everything going forward. Zeruel is larger than an Evangelion and has a stocky muscular frame. Its design is mostly humanoid, but with some strange features. Its arms are long and ribbon-like, able to slice through almost anything, and the core sits exposed on its chest, protected by a retractable membrane when needed. Compared to other angels, Zeruel's core and S2 engine seemed oversized, which lines up with how much power it brings to the table. It moves mostly by floating using its AT field, but it can also walk on all fours when needed. The stubby legs don't look impressive, but they work just fine when paired with its tucked-in arms. Zeruel attacks right after the Bardiel incident, at a time when Nerve is still scrambling to get back on its feet. It doesn't approach slowly. It breaks straight through the layers of armor above the geofront in seconds, giving Nerve no time to mount a defense on the surface. Unit 02 is sent out to fight, but its weapons barely scratch the angel. Zeruel slices off Unit 02's arms with its own and follows up by taking off its head, knocking it out of the battle almost immediately. Not long after, Unit 00 shows up, still damaged from his fight with Bardiel and missing one arm. Ray charges forward with an N2 bomb in hand, managing to push through Zeruel's AT field and lands a direct hit, but even that doesn't work. Zeruel takes the explosion without a scratch. While Unit 00 loses its other arm and is knocked out cold, Zeruel doesn't slow down. It keeps moving and breaches Nerve headquarters directly, punching its way into the command center and central dogma. Just as it's about to wipe out the people inside, Unit 01 shows up and pulls it away, starting a new round of combat. Zeruel responds by blasting off Unit 01's left arm. Despite the damage, Unit 01 forces Zeruel onto a launch catapult, taking the fight to the surface. Up there, the Eva manages to land a few solid hits and starts tearing into Zeruel's face, but then it runs out of power and shuts down. Zeruel goes in for the kill, ripping open Unit 01's chest armor and hammering away at its core. Each hit pushes closer to crushing the entry plug, with Shinji still inside. Right before Zeruel can finish the job, Unit 01 goes into berserk mode. It stops the angel's attack, tears off one of Zeruel's arm, and uses it to regenerate its own. From there, it completely turns the fight around. Unit 01 hits Zeruel with a full power AT field attack, tearing open massive wounds and shutting the angel down. As Zeruel tries one final move, its face is crushed. With the battle over, Unit 01 does something completely unexpected. It starts devouring the angel's body and absorbs the S2 engine, unlocking a new level of power that Nerve hasn't seen before. Arael. Arael is the 15th angel, and it brings something completely different to the battlefield. It doesn't bother with brute force or flashy weapons. Instead, it attacks the human mind directly using its AT field. That alone makes it one of the most dangerous angels to show up, and its ability to strike from orbit only makes it harder to deal with. The angel appears as a jagged winged figure made entirely of glowing blue light, constantly hovering high above Earth. Its core is hard to spot because of how bright it is, but it floats outside the main body, held up by two smaller wings. The moment it's detected in orbit above Japan, Nerve scrambles. Asuka gets sent out in Unit 02 as the first responder, even though it's technically against orders. Misato ends up letting it slide since Asuka launches anyways. Rei follows in Unit 00 as backup. All of this happens during a full-on storm over Tokyo 3. For a while, nothing really happens. Arael just sits in orbit, just far enough that the Evangelions can't hit it with standard weapons. Then, without warning, a beam of light comes down from the Angel and locks on to Unit 02. At first, it looks like a particle beam, but it turns out to be a mental probe, some twisted use of its AT field. Asuka immediately starts showing signs of psychological distress. She tries to fight back and fires her positron rifle, but it's way out of range. The shot fades out before they get anywhere near the target. As the probe continues, Asuka keeps firing blindly until she runs out of ammo. She's panicking and unraveling quickly. Rasuka warns that the attack could cause permanent damage to Asuka's mind. Misato orders her to retreat, but Asuka refuses. She'd rather keep fighting than accept a loss. The Angel then starts digging deeper, forcing her to relive the most traumatic parts of her childhood, her mother's suicide and everything that came with it. The whole breakdown is being broadcast back to Nerve HQ, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. Rei steps in with a heavier positron sniper rifle, possibly the same one used against Ramiel or a modified version of it. She takes a full-powered shot, and the beam actually makes it to Arael, but it's still not enough. The Angel's AT field holds strong, and the shot is deflected. Back at Nerve, Shinji begs to launch Unit 01 to save Asuka, but both Gendo and Fuyasuki shoot the idea down. They think the risk of Unit 01 being mentally contaminated by Arael is too high. Still, Shinji doesn't back off. As Unit 02 shuts down and Asuka life support drops, he keeps pressing his father to do something. Gendo finally agrees, not by sending Shinji, but by choosing to use the Spear of Longinus. He orders Rei to go to the Terminal Dogma to retrieve the spear that is currently impaled in Lilith. Fuyasuki objects, knowing Seele won't be happy about this. Gendo doesn't care. He sees this as a necessary move, and a perfect chance to get the spear out way before Seele can use it for their own plans. Rei retrieves the spear and returns to the surface. After some quick calculations, a 10-second countdown begins. Rei throws the spear with enough power to part the storm clouds over the city. The spear tears through the sky, breaks through Arael's AT field, and destroys the Angel's core. The fight ends instantly. The spear continues past Earth and ends up stuck in orbit around the moon, now out of reach for anyone on Earth. With that, Arael is taken down, but not without leaving deep scars, especially on Asuka. The psychological damage lingers long after the Angel is gone. Adam. Adam is the first angel of one of the Earth's two seeds of life. It was created by the mysterious first ancestral race and sent to Earth inside the White Moon with the job of spreading life. Specifically, the kind of life that would eventually become the angels. Physically, we never get a clear view of Adam's adult form. What we do see is either a glowing humanoid figure called the Giant of Light, or a body trapped under ice. But from what's visible, it's clear Adam looks a lot like an Evangelion, which makes sense since the Evas are based on Adam's genetic structure. Originally, Adam was supposed to fill the planet with its own descendants, but things got derailed when the Black Moon, carrying Lilith, another seed of life, crash-landed on Earth. There's a universal rule that says only one seed should exist on a planet, and when two show up, one is supposed to be neutralized by a Spear of Longinus. The problem was Lilith's spear got destroyed in the crash. That left Adam's spear as the only working one, so Adam was put into suspended animation by its own spear, and Lilith's offspring, the humans, ended up populating the planet instead. Much later, a team of scientists called the Katsuragi Expedition discovered Adam frozen in Antarctica, still impaled by the spear. What really caught their attention was Adam's S2 engine, a core that could generate infinite energy. This led to the infamous contact experiment. After the experiment, Adam went out of control. It generated an anti-AT field that wiped out all life in the surrounding area, messed with the atmosphere, and opened its doors of Guff, basically a sign that Adam was trying to restart its mission to claim Earth. The scientists tried to stop it with the spear again, but the attempts either failed or didn't work fast enough. Adam activated its S2 engine, transformed into the Giant of Light, and then exploded. As it self-destructed, it sprouted 4 enormous wings that reached the stratosphere. That explosion was what caused the second impact, a global disaster that reshaped the world after the explosion melted the Antarctic ice caps and shifted the Earth's axis. The sea level shot up, tsunamis wrecked coastlines, and wars broke out all over. In the chaos, half of humanity was wiped out, and the global balance of power took a serious hit. Instead of being completely destroyed, Adam reverted into a dormant egg-like state. Its soul and body were separated, likely due to his core into being destroyed. Seele recovered both parts from what used to be Antarctica, now called the Dead Sea. Adam's soul is contained in a modified human body, which resulted in the creation of Kaworu Nagisa, while the embryo was used in the Adam Revival Project, better known as Project E, which created the Evangelions. By 2015, Adam's embryo is smuggled into Japan by Ryoji Kaji and delivered to Gendo Ikari at NERV. Gendo has his own agenda for triggering Third Impact and uses Adam as a key part of it. At some point, he fuses Adam into the palm of his right hand and plans to merge it with Rei, who contains Lilith's soul. But things don't go according to plan. Rei rejects Gendo, tears off his arm, and absorbs Adam, and returns to Lilith. That act completes the forbidden fusion of Adam and Lilith, creating a new combined entity. This fusion appears as a massive ghostly image of Kaworu, suggesting that Adam's soul was restored to his body after Kaworu's death. This being temporarily splits into its original parts, Adam and Lilith, just before Unit 01 becomes the Tree of Life. But in the end, it's destroyed when Shinji rejects instrumentality. After that, Lilith seems to fade out of existence, while Adam's ultimate fate is left unclear. Armisael. Armisael is the 16th angel and the last of Adam's original offspring. It first appears in the form of a bright spinning double helix in the sky. The structure fuses into one and breaks at a point, stretching out into a long glowing thread that's several times taller than an Eva. Once it takes this form, it moves fast and hits even harder. It shows up hovering above the outskirts of Tokyo 3 without warning. NERV sends out Unit 00 to check it out, and at first the angel just floats there, not reacting. The moment Unit 00 prepares to retreat for further analysis, Armisael transforms into its thread-like form and immediately attacks. It pierces straight through Unit 00's AT field and drives into the core without any resistance. Unit 00 fights back with sniper rounds, but the bullets do nothing. Even a progressive knife stab, which makes it bleed and clearly hurts it, fails to leave a lasting impact. Once contact is made, Armisael starts a process called biofusion. It begins physically invading the Eva with its own tissue, which spreads across the body like thick vein-like growths. This physical merging eventually opens the door to psychological contact. Through that link, the angel makes direct mental contact with Rei. The exchange between them is brief, but intense, focused on loneliness and identity. Unit 02 is launched next, but Asuka's sync rate is too low, and the Eva doesn't even activate. With Rei already being consumed and nothing else working, the freeze order on Unit 01 is lifted. Unit 01 launches just in time and is almost caught by Armisael's other end. It narrowly avoids being fused, but grabs onto the angel instead. Shinji stabs it with the prog knife, and the angel screams in pain, this time sounding eerily like Rei. Rei, realizing the danger to Shinji, acts quickly. She pushes her AT field to its limit, pulling Armisael's full attention towards herself to buy time. Then she triggers Unit 00's self-destruct, wiping out the angel in the process. The blast is enormous, leveling a chunk of Tokyo 3 and leaving behind a new artificial lake in the wreckage. Right before the explosion, something strange happens. After connecting mentally with Rei, a bizarre growth begins to emerge from Unit 00's back. It rapidly expands into a massive towering form that seems to blend characteristics from all the angels that came before, something fans sometimes call the Angel Tower. Official materials describe it as the heteromorphous structure that combines the shapes of the 3rd through the 15th angels. Some interpretations claim that either Armisael or Unit 00 carried all the genetic data of the previous angels and that the structure was formed using that information. But the show itself gives reason to doubt this idea. The angel forms don't seem to be based on genetics, but on how their AT fields express themselves. Another theory suggests something more symbolic, that Armisael might have been carrying the souls of its fallen siblings, and the tower was a failed attempt to bring them back using Rei and Unit 00 as vessels. Whatever the case, the result is total destruction. Armisael is gone, Rei is presumed dead, and Unit 00 is completely wiped out. The blast leaves its mark on the landscape, and the psychological fallout from this battle shakes the team harder than anything they've faced before. Tabris. Kaworu Nagisa, also known as Tabris, is the 17th and final angel. Unlike the others, he doesn't show up in some alien or abstract form. He looks and acts like a human. He's also the 5th child brought in by Seele to replace Asuka after she becomes unable to pilot Unit 02. Kaworu was essentially created through a contact experiment that fused human DNA with Adam's body, likely explaining why his date of birth matches the date of the second impact. Seele replaced Adam's soul into this new vessel, and it's implied that they had him under surveillance until the events of the series. Right from the start, Kaworu stands out. In his first test with Unit 02, he syncs perfectly. Later, it's revealed that he can set his synchronization rate to whatever he wants. He's only able to pilot Unit 02 because his actual soul is in hiding, which lets him override it for a limited time. He is first seen after the battle with Armisael. He's calm, composed, and already has a presence that feels unusual. He spends time with Shinji and shows a strong curiosity about humanity, especially their emotions, music, and loneliness. He casually hums Beethoven's Ode to Joy when they first meet, referencing his appreciation for human culture. From then on, he and Shinji start bonding quickly, especially since Shinji feels isolated. Rei is emotionally distant, Asuka is hospitalized and unresponsive, and Misato is caught up in the chaos of Nerve. He offers a kind of comfort Shinji hasn't found in anyone else recently. They share a quiet moment in the Nerve bathhouse, where he makes physical contact with Shinji, who doesn't pull away. The interaction is brief, but intimate, showing how quickly he becomes someone Shinji trusts. Afterward, Shinji even spends the night in Kaworu's room, sleeping on the floor because he doesn't want to go back home. He listens as Shinji opens up about his past and his strained relationship with his father. There's an emotional openness between them that Shinji hasn't shared with anyone else. Meanwhile, Nerve starts getting suspicious. Kaworu's synchronization rates are too precise, and his behavior doesn't quite line up with expectations. Eventually, Unit 02 activates on its own without a pilot. It turns out Kaworu is controlling it remotely and has begun descending towards Terminal Dogma, the lowest level of Nerve HQ where the mysterious giant is sealed. Nerve confirms that Kaworu is the 17th angel, and Shinji is sent out in Euro 01 to stop him. He uses Unit 02 to slow Shinji down, forcing him into a fight against a familiar Eva being piloted by someone he thought was his friend. Asuka is still mentally unfit to return, so Shinji is effectively fighting her Eva without her inside. After finally getting past Unit 02, Shinji reaches Kaworu at Terminal Dogma just as Kaworu stands before the being he believes to be Adam. He hesitates after realizing the giant isn't Adam after all, it's Lilith. Killing Lilith instead of uniting with Adam would destroy humanity, not save it. He pauses, then chooses not to go through with it. He allows Shinji to catch him in Unit 01's grip. Shinji is crushed, feeling betrayed. He was the one person he opened up to during one of the most painful times in his life, and now he's revealed to be an angel. Even then, Shinji hesitates to kill him, but Kaworu tells him that his life has meaning for him because of their connection, and that he's ready to die. He believes choosing the end of his life is his final act of freedom. Shinji stays frozen in silence for a while before finally complying. Kaworu dies in Unit 01's hand, and the 17th angel is gone. The end of Evangelion adds more layers to Kaworu's role. The mass production Evangelions all have dummy plugs labeled Kaworu, which suggests Seele likely had multiple Kaworu clones, just like Nerve had Rei clones. During instrumentality, Kaworu appears several times. When Lilith Rei takes on various forms to interact with Shinji, Kaworu is one of them. His appearance helps calm Shinji and guide him through the collapsing boundaries of identity and reality. Later, when Gendo is confronted by instrumentality, Kaworu appears again. Alongside Rei, he challenges Gendo's motivations and accuses him of hiding from the world. Eventually, Unit 01 destroys Gendo. Kaworu and Rei appear one last time near the end to ask Shinji what future he wants, whether he wants to remain within instrumentality or return to the real world. Shinji chooses reality, even with all its pain, because it's the only place where feelings and relationships are genuine. Lilin. Lilin is the name Kaworu uses when talking about humanity, specifically Homo sapiens. In Neon Genesis Evangelion, humans aren't just some regular species roaming around. They're actually the 18th angel. Humans, or Lilin, come from Lilith and carry the fruit of knowledge, which is what gives them their intelligence, creativity, and capacity to grow through understanding. That's different from Adam's children, the other angels, who carried the fruit of life, the thing that gives them massive power and insane regeneration. Adam's children are all separate beings with unique forms and abilities, but humans are treated a bit differently. Even though there are billions of them, they're grouped as a single angel. The show describes humanity as a colony of flawed and separate entities. So while the other angels are distinct, weirdly shaped beings, humans are basically one giant chaotic group that counts as one angel in the grand scheme. The term Lilith doesn't come with a formal designation on screen, but based on Sile's files and the way Kaworu uses the word, it's safe to assume that that's the official angel code name for humans. For convenience, it makes sense to just roll with that. The whole setup goes back to the first ancestral race, a long-lost alien species that was spreading life across the galaxy billions of years ago. They sent out these beings called seeds of life to different planets. Each seed was carried in a vessel called a moon. Adam was one seed and Lilith was another. Earth was only supposed to have one, but something went off script, and both Adam and Lilith ended up here. Adam arrived first, but Lilith crashed in later. Lilith's arrival had huge consequences. She released LCL, the golden orange fluid we see in the show, which is actually her own blood. This LCL became the foundation for life on Earth. Over time, it led to the evolution of single-celled organisms, which eventually became Homo sapiens. So humanity literally comes from Lilith. That connection is why humans carry the fruit of knowledge, because it came from her. Meanwhile, Adam's children, the angels, carry the fruit of life. This key difference makes humans and angels fundamentally incompatible. Even though Adam showed up first, and even though the angels are weird and alien looking, they're not any more foreign to Earth than humans are. Both Adam and Lilith were seeded here by the same ancient beings. So while the angels and humans are different in terms of biology, power, and purpose, their origins are part of the same experiment by the first ancestral race. In short, humans, or Lilith, are technically angels too, just the kind that grew out of a pool of blood from a cosmic progenitor, carrying knowledge instead of raw power, and ended up becoming the most dominant life form on the planet.